Shanta Samadrisha Shuddha Sarva Bhutanuranjanaha Yanti Anjasa Achyuta Padam Achyuta Priya Bandhava. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Persons who are peaceful, equipoised, cleansed and purified, and who know the art of pleasing all the living entities, keep friendship only with the devotees of the Lord. They alone can very easily achieve perfection of going back home, back to Godhead. Purport. The description of this verse fully indicates that only devotees are eligible to enter into the kingdom of Godhead. The first point stated is that devotees are peaceful, for they have no demands for personal sense gratification. They are simply dedicated to the service of the Lord. Karmis cannot be peaceful because they have immense demands for sense gratification. As for Gyanis, they cannot be peaceful because they are too busy trying to attain liberation or merge into the existence of the Supreme. Similarly, the yogis are also restless to get the mystic power. But a devotee is peaceful because he is fully surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and thinks of himself as completely helpless, just as a child feels complete peace in depending on the parent. So a devotee is completely peaceful for he depends on the mercy of the Supreme Personality of God. A devotee is equipoised. He sees everyone on the same transcendental platform. A devotee knows that although a conditioned soul has a particular type of body according to his past fruitive activities, factually, everyone is a part of the Supreme Lord. A devotee sees all the living entities with spiritual vision and does not discriminate on the platform of the bodily concept of life. Such qualities develop only in the association of devotees. Without the association of devotees, one cannot advance in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, we have established the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Actually, whoever lives in this society automatically develops Krishna consciousness. Devotees are dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is only dear to devotees. On this platform only can one make progress in Krishna consciousness. Persons in Krishna consciousness or devotees of the Lord can please everyone, as is evident in the Krishna consciousness movement. We invite everyone without discrimination. We request everyone to sit down and chant the Hare Krishna mantra and take as much prasad as we can supply, and thus everyone is pleased with us. This is the qualification. Sarva Bhutanuranjana. As for purification, no one can be more pure than devotees. Anyone who once utters the name of Vishnu immediately becomes purified inside and outside. Yah smaret pundari kaksham Since a devotee constantly chants the Hare Krishna mantra, no contamination of the material world can touch him. He is therefore actually purified. Muchihaya Shuchihaya Yadi Krishna's Bhaje. It is said that even a cobbler or a person born in the family of a cobbler can be elevated to the position of a Brahmana, Suchi, if he takes to Krishna consciousness. Any person who is purely Krishna conscious and who engages in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the purest in the whole universe. Persons who are peaceful, equipoised, cleansed, and purified, and who know the art of pleasing all other living entities, keep friendship with the devotees of the Lord. They alone can very easily achieve the perfection of going back home back to God. The words of Bhagavatam and the emphasis of Srila Prabhupada here is very much opposite to the common notion which generally people harbor, or sometimes even devotees harbor. In general, if one feels that if I can be just on my own, sitting in my home, I can be more peaceful. Like one time I told my brother, why don't you come to Mayapur for yatra? He said, how many devotees will be there? He said, 10,000. And resident is 5,000. He said, no, no, no. I don't like crowd. I want when I'm all alone, nobody else. Peaceful. That's his idea. Generally, in general, even devotees feel like that. Because one feels so association, so many devotees means there may be it may be troublesome. Sometimes the devotees feel the same about yatra. They say that oh, they have to stand in long lines and for every meal, and many a times the some or the other item in prasad will get finished. But what Bhagavatam is explaining here, and what the Lord is, what Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing here, is completely different to this. The association of devotees is what can make us peaceful. The association of devotees is what can make us peaceful. Rather, Prabhupada is saying the only way to make us peaceful is the association of devotees. Srila Prabhupada is explaining that nobody other than a devotee of the Lord is peaceful in disposition. Because everyone else is very restless because they have that hankering. The karmis, they have material hankering for fruitive results. We also have. So the karmis have these material hankerings. Now the like sometimes the devotees have these karmic tendencies in terms of expectation of good career, wealth, money, house, facility, and so on. It's a karmic karma yogi tendencies. The Jnana yogi tendencies, liberation, a desire for liberation, the Jnana yogi. So Jnanis are also disturbed because their mind is also restless because they want liberation. So their mind is also very restless. And it is explained that these Ashtanga yogis are also very restless because they are hankering for siddhis. Only a devotee is peaceful, and Prabhupada explains so beautifully because a devotee understands that I am completely helpless. I'm just like a small child, I cannot do anything without Krishna's help. So it's completely dependent. So that is the language of dependence. Dependence means whatever Krishna gives me is whatever Krishna gives me is all auspicious. So the acme of dependence is Ashlisheva Padarata platform. That is the acme of dependence. That, oh Lord, I am completely subservient to you and I will go on serving you. Irrespective of your reciprocation. What kind of reciprocation? Maro bhi rakho bhi, jo ichha tomar. Nityadas tuapada. So whether you embrace me or you neglect me or you pick me off, I am your unconditional servant eternally. This is dependence. So such a person is completely peaceful. Such a person is completely peaceful. Now the point is, if you see, uh, uh, now one may say, I don't want to be dependent. I want to be independent. I want to stand on my own feet. So on. Although we see the living entity, although the living entity is speaks many times of an independent footing and an independent disposition, but we will see our proclivity is very much in terms of dependence. In relationships, we want to we find those relationships meaningful where we can trust others, where there is trust in the relationship. So ultimately, we will see that whenever and wherever there is a sign of trust or trustworthiness, whenever and wherever there is a sign of trustworthiness, we will see we start finding a great sign of relief. In whichever relationships we find trustworthiness and a trustworthy reciprocation, one feels great shelter there. One feels great. One feels a great reciprocation there. So our inherent tendency is to invest trust in others. Just imagine, in a materialistic husband-wife life, where the husband doesn't trust the wife, wife is not trusting the husband. Both are having their own agendas, and life is so troublesome in that case. When they are not making a team and they are having their own agendas of manipulating each other, exploiting each other, having duplicity in the relationship. There are so many unfortunate cases in the world. So you see that even family life is such a troublesome life because one just cannot even trust one's own wife or husband. So our inherent tendency is to trust, to place trust. So what is that placing trust? You see, all definition of relationships comes from trustworthiness, integrity, trustworthiness. Integrity, trustworthiness. That is the whole sense of relationships what we have. So that means that every jiva has an inherent tendency to depend, and therefore, if one has to depend, why not depend on the original Purusha, who is Achyuta, who is infallible, than depending upon fallible soldiers in this world. So we see that we see even in material relationships, only to the degree we put spiritual to the degree we put spiritual principles, to that degree even material relationships get concretized. So that spiritual principles act like steel and cement, no, and concrete. So it becomes reinforced concrete. Without that, no building can stand. You see, businesses are also built on healthy and long-lasting relationships. We see those families also which go on together. Those families also have these spiritual principles in their mind. That is the point. They have these spiritual principles in the mind. So therefore, the dependence on the Supreme Lord is a very beautiful principle. Is a very beautiful principle actually, because that dependence can make us completely peaceful. That dependence can make us completely peaceful. That dependence can make us completely peaceful. That's the point. So therefore, we have to understand that the anything and everything which is reposed in the Supreme Lord can only give us peacefulness. Peacefulness does not exist without the connection to the Lord. Uh, now, now in the verse there are further beautiful things mentioned, that okay, when one is in this way in disposition, one can become equipoised. Favoritism is often accompanied by experience of uh, enhancement of misery. Why? Because favoritism in one direction means neglect in the other direction, and whichever direction there is neglect, there is going to be a heavy repercussion, and where there is favoritism, there may not be so much positive no reciprocation. So in effect, it's going to be negative. When I favor one devotee, I may so I am neglecting 5 others, and therefore the negative repercussion of that will outweigh the reciprocation of this favor, if at all there is a reciprocation. Kali Yuga Jivas, they take the favor, they don't reciprocate also. That's the nature of Kali Yuga candidates. So they just want to take and take and take, and not reciprocate. That's Kali Yuga. Kali Yuga reciprocation quotient very. So therefore, the Lord has given us the best formula in relationship management. This be equipoised. But this equipoise is only possible when one's heart is satisfied. And that is only possible when there is Krishna Bhakti, when there is Krishna Shakti. And you see, in this way, we can understand that this is only now the connection to Krishna, the dependence on the Supreme Lord, the Sharanagati, or that the deep connection with the Lord is only possible in the association of devotees. Because an immediate argument may come that, okay, we are talking about materialistic people and we are talking about, but many times even devotees are not, no, it is difficult to place trust in devotees also. Many times devotees also commit mistakes because everyone is an upcoming devotee and different devotees have various anarthas. Somebody is Karma Mishra, somebody is Jnana Mishra, so like that. So we may not expect, we may not get the best reciprocation from the devotees. Yes, that is true. The reciprocation of the Lord, the reciprocation of the Lord, and the reciprocation of uh, the reciprocation of the Lord and the reciprocation of the devotees may not be the same. The devotees are giving us a reflection of the reciprocation of the Lord. And to the degree the devotee is pure, to that degree one is reflecting the reciprocation of the Lord. So therefore, devotees may give a little bit help here, there, because they are reflecting the reciprocation of the Lord. But as the devotee is advancing, the more advanced devotee, the more one reflects purely the reciprocation of the Lord. But the point is now, uh, whether one is whatever kind of devotee, the association of devotees in the cumulative way, sincere devotees, is what makes one connected to the Supreme Lord. That is the principle. Because in that connection, one will experience reciprocation of the Lord, from within and without. From within and without. So some part of that reciprocation may come through the existing devotees around us, but the other may come directly to us also from within. Krishna works from within also. So in the form of inspiration, in the form of satisfaction of the heart, the form of purification of the heart, Krishna works from within as well. So that is the point actually, that now, so what happens is, now say for example, even if a devotee behaves wrongly with us, that forces us, if we are in a right disposition, it will force a devotee to be, to depend on Krishna more deeply, like that. Say for example, someday in yatra, the prasad is finished. The prasad is finished. If one is in a right disposition, that situation, prasad is finished, one can simply chant, and wait for the next prasad, Yeah, if one chants 32 rounds, the next prasad will come, like that. Or one has the opportunity to go and cook, because if prasad is finished for us, that means there may be 50-100 devotees also who might be coming behind us for prasad. So one can cook for 100 people and get so much blessings. So the point is the reciprocation, because now one we may say, okay, but this kind of disposition can occur with materialistic people also. No, because materialistic people always radiate the environment, the ambience, the radiation, the infection is all poisonous. and therefore in a materialistic circle it is very difficult to see things from a spiritual perspective and act in a spiritual perspective. Now, but in a devotee assembly of devotees, it is possible to act in a spiritual way, even though the devotees may not be perfect. Because one day prasad is finished for us, the next day we will see that we are taking prasad, and in front of us there are devotees coming for whom prasad is finished, and they will be, and we will see them acting in a proper way. So, in association of devotees, so many things we can see. If a devotee behaves properly, we get to learn how to behave, and we can get inspiration. But we may see some devotees misbehaving, and if we see some devotee misbehaving, we can learn how not to behave. So, in a devotee setting, we will see the to take things in a right spirit, even though sometimes in a devotee association we may be disturbed. Say for example, we are disturbed in a festival or something, we are disturbed because of something, the mind got disturbed somehow, but immediately there is an option. No, at 50 meters distance there will be a steady enthusiastic sincere devotee whom we can connect to and ask him, and in 5 minutes we can get solution. So therefore, but if one is in a materialistic circle, one is disturbed, there is nobody around, and the whole environment is such that to take the step of connecting to a devotee requires a lot of energy, and practically it doesn't work out. So therefore, Srila Prabhupada is giving therefore the verdict that without the association of devotees, it is not possible to advance in Krishna consciousness. Even though now the implicit statement which is there, which you want to make explicit, is even though that association of devotees may not be, the devotees around may not be perfect and pure devotees themselves. Even though those devotees may be imperfect, still the being in that association is the only way to advance in spiritual life. Let's stop here for today. Do you have any questions? Hare Krishna. Okay, if there is a past sanskar to feel uneasy in a crowd, how do we overcome that? It is possible that before coming to Krishna consciousness, we have inculcated a lot of sanskars. Now the Shastras and the Acharyas explain that it is possible to give up those sanskaras by working on it constantly. So if you work on it constantly, it is possible to give up. First of all, it is not possible in life to avoid crowd. Is it possible in life to avoid crowd? Okay, we can sit in our home, 2 BHK, 3 BHK home, but the point is how long we can keep sitting in the home. So to earn money, we have to go out. To eat, to get food, we have to go out. No? So to commute, we have to go out. So it is not possible to first of all avoid crowd, like that. Many times such feelings are very much dependent upon many times such feelings are very much correlated to maybe a certain incident where in a crowd you might have felt suffocation or bad behavior or something like that. So one should understand that there is uh, so one should understand that uh, uh, when we are in the assembly of devotees, there is uh, 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 then Krishna's grace is present. So, so why to worry about so much inconvenience? There are not many. There are not many. So therefore, everything has to be, in one sense, objectively evaluated. That this setting, say for example, a yatra setting, is not like a setting of Havada station. When in Havada station, people are dashing. They don't mind, no, if somebody falls, they will not mind stepping over that other person and going. That is Havada station. So that is why many times in crowd stampede happens. But devotees' case is not like that. Yatra is completely different. Everything is, so many devotees are trying to manage things to the best of their ability. Some little here and there inconvenience may be there. Not much. Uh, so that's why one should not be too much afraid. Like when we have festivals in our temple, it's just 2-3 thousand people who come. In the spiritual world, by the way, there are millions of people. Uh, so, but they don't punch each other. They don't step on each other. They don't do dhakka mukhi, like those kind of things, like that. So we see the systems uh, in our uh, the systems in our this thing are quite okay. You see, Srila Prabhupada established on very open systems. So one should not be afraid of at least festivals in ISKCON. There is good enough administration. The darshan of the Lord is very open, such a broad, all the time, anytime, and all that. Nothing to worry much. Definitely, when we go to outside festivals, one can be careful because if one is especially feeling this, uh, then maybe one cannot go. But one need not. The ISKCON festivals are not the same. Like our temple festivals are not the same. There is no much problem. Okay, if you are afraid of long line of prasad, we can take up the serving seva. We are no then there is no insecurity about prasad. You're always with prasad. Anytime you can sit down behind the serving desk and take you know like that. So that is the point. But outside events like say for example Kumbh Mela or Rath Yatra, Puri, not all will be devotees. Not all will be devotees, and therefore we may be a bit. Uh, so therefore, one can be a bit careful if one is opting to go there, and if one doesn't opt to go there, that's good enough. I mean, that's okay. That's optional. But our regular festivals are not optional. They are very much foundational. We also remember one day we had immediately after our Calcutta Rath Yatra, the Ulta Rath, that day night we had gone to Puri. The next day Sonavesh Darshan was there. It was such a beautiful darshan, but there was so much of a crowd, so much of a crowd. And we happened to go back in one, I mean, we were directed to one very, very small lane, and somehow the localites there had stopped that lane. So here hundreds of people are coming and they're not allowing anybody to go. So there was a sort of a stampede situation about to happen. And we were just wondering, and it was so much so that there was so much suffocation, and because people are not able to go out because the local people had blocked that, they were not allowing anyone. and hundreds of people are coming this side and nobody is going outside. So it is such a situation, and neither you can go in front nor you can go back. It was so much of ladies had started crying, children had started crying, like that. So that was the kind of situation which had happened. No, but I remember the darshan of the Lord was so beautiful, like that. And that time we were really suffocating, not phobia, no, not phobia, and because it was such a kind of a messy situation, and uh, but and even I was understanding probably this is the end of life now, So I had just closed my eyes and I was remembering, and by Lord's mercy, that beautiful darshan was there, and I was feeling okay. This moment I can die, no problem, this moment I can die. It was a stampede kind of a situation, and I was just remembering and seeing that beautiful darshan of the Sonavesh of Lord Jagannath and chanting Lord Jagannath's name, and I was preparing for death. It was a situation was like that. Ladies were crying, children were crying. It was a sort of a stampede situation. So it was, this is more than 12 years back incident. So then the Lord inspired some of them. They started pushing in the reverse direction rather than pushing in this direction, suffocating, and therefore then everybody started slowly reversing the direction and all that, and then slowly there was some air to breathe and there was some suffocation was, and everybody got out, like that. So the point is, now we did not go to Jagannath Puri after that, especially on that day of Sonavesh, that so this is 12 years back. We never went after that, uh, so that's okay sometimes if uh, outside events, but our festivals are not like that. I don't think any of our festivals are like that. There may be some inconvenience a little bit that we have to wait long for prasad. We may not get the sweet prasad. Rice dal will get all this, no. So we may not get the balcony. I mean we may get a seat which is a little behind, and the speaker may not be directly visible, or we have to see through the screen. Those are small things, not very much. Those are small things, not really. So, does it answer your question? Actually, I understand. Any such incident happens, then there is, you know, uh, especially any such incident happens actually, then one may feel a little phobic. Claustrophobia may be there a little bit. So, in general, we can be careful of crowds. So, uh, so in general, one can be a little careful of crowds, because in general, materialistic people, there is no there is no limit to bad behavior on their part, like that. So in general, we can be a little careful, not to. So anyway, not to be part of such events, unless and until we have very well organized. We know of some very well organized plans and all that. So uh, those kind of situations may happen. So we can be careful on that. No problem. It's not that everybody. Uh, Even I feel, ever since that 12 years back stampede incident, when I am surrounded by too much crowd, I feel that my breath is no, is a problem in breathing. It's a phobia, claustrophobia it is called. So, but that is accompanied by that incident, like that. So in general, I would not like to go to Puri Rath Yatra, in general, that way. Or Kumbh Mela, unless we have very specific service. Like even when our ISKCON devotees go to Kumbh Mela, we are not roaming around like the other crowd. We are there at one place and we are just serving. That's all. That is okay. That is okay. So we are not just roaming around, the darshan line or that, or I don't know what people do in Kumbh Mela, I don't think there's much darshan. There is bathing, but I don't know what exactly they do because I've never been there. And unless we have a service, very specific service there, it's okay, no problem. We can be careful. Nothing wrong in being careful about crowds because materialistic crowds are really, you know, uh, but I feel it's only a problem when there is crowd of the order of 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, or 25 lakh people, like that. 5-10,000 people here and there, it's okay. The fairs and festivals, the fairs which are there, I think it's okay. Mostly we are sitting at one place and trying to, standing at one place and trying to, it's people who are rushing and they are pushing each other. We are stay put peacefully. Like Havada Subway also, you see sometimes people are pushing each other, but we are not in that lane only, no. We are not in that lane at all. So there's nothing wrong in going in book distribution because we are there in a corner peacefully, So we are just standing and we can take a mic and keep speaking the glories of Krishna, and then in between people will only come and take books. So that's okay because we are not in that lane. It's okay. So but sometimes we find some public transport uncomfortable. We can try to avoid, nothing wrong with that. That's okay. Uh, but it's possible to overcome these phobic tendencies also by constantly working on it. If especially if it is connected to some service or if it is connected to some no our basic sadhana. So if we preach to ourselves regularly, then it is possible to overcome it. So like that. So now we are asked to put up an ISKCON stall in Rath Yatra and Puri. We'll go there. So like that. Why? Because even if we die in a stampede in front of Lord Jagannath, we'll go back to Garet. No problem dying there also. No problem. So you see, that's the point. So when there is a service, okay, we can die in front of Lord Jagannath. What is the problem? What is the problem? Rather than dying in some ventilator in a hospital, better to die in front of Lord Jagannath, and when Lord Jagannath, we can go back to Garet. So nothing wrong with that. So if there is a service, we don't have to worry much. So the devotees who give us the service, they also arrange. And if we even if we die on a service in a stampede, we'll go back to the Garet, nothing to worry much. So, but if it is not a service and if it is sightseeing, it can be a problem. So, like like I remember one time there was this news that some candidate, they had gone to a concert and there was a stampede in a concert and they died. Somebody died, like that. Very unfortunate. Better to die in Rath Yatra than a pop show, concert. So like that. So yeah, really, uh, so and so that's how we can take it as. So if we constantly preach to us, especially, we should understand when there is a service. Like you remember our Vrindavan who was telling also. So he had gone to purchase the no, not books, that agarbatti, for he was the head pujari, he had gone to purchase agarbatti, and that there was a shop in a Muslim area. But then that time I think the Muslims were on a riot mode, and some 50 people saw him as Muslims, and they were saying, "Okay, kill the kafir," and they had weapons to kill. So and he was running for his life along with 25 kg agarbatti which he had purchased for the Lord. No, like that. So finally, he got one turn. He saw some public lavatory. He went inside that lavatory. From the window of that lavatory, he was seeing another person's home, And in his home, there was the photograph of Radha Gopinath. And he was seeing that, and he was palpitating. He was chanting, seeing the Lord. See, the Lord gave him his own vision, like that somehow in that lavatory. And then he was waiting. If these people would have come, it would be end of his life. Somehow, I don't know. He was saying somehow the Lord twisted there. They didn't find him. It was so easy to find him. He was just in the public laboratory. He had just lashed it from inside. So the life was saved. So he went back to Radhanath Maharaj, and he was sharing his experience that how he was just saved his life. And Radhanath Maharaj said, "No problem. Krishna saved. That is very nice." And Maharaj also said that even if you were killed because he had gone for service, Krishna would have taken you back to God. There is nothing. So he was sharing this incident. Radhanath Maharaj said that even if on this day you would have given up your life, then also it would have been okay because you were on the service or the mission of the Lord. See, because he was on the mission of the Lord gave him his own vision. No? He could see the Lord lamination from the lavatory, public lavatory. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Because he was serving the Lord, and the Lord saved his life. So that may not always be the case. But rather than Maharaj saying, you are on service, you lose your life, and you go back to God because you're on service. That is why it is best to be on service all the time. So that anytime, anyhow, if there is some danger, Krishna will take us back to God. No problem. So when we preach to ourselves and see, to train ourselves to see things from a spiritual thing, then one will not be fearful, especially if it is a calling of service. But unnecessarily, one should not. There should be a cause of service. Then we don't mind. We are careful, but despite our arrangements, if there is a problem, then we don't mind. But it should be a cause of service or association or spiritual. For no cause, no need to take unnecessary risks. Let's stop here for today. Granth Raj Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Hare Krishna.